Hello, I'm back again. It's 3 o'clock. Kim hadn't shown up yet. Um, I may have made a mistake in sending her a second invitation for this time slot. But anyway, we're just sitting here talking about stuff. Nobody's shown up yet. I'm going to hang on for 15 minutes because I understand what it's like when you get later in the day, your day gets backed up. And hi, Candy. How you doing? You're back. I'm still here. Actually, I did get leave. I did some stuff. I built a grid, and I can't show it to you because it's still wet and things slide around when they're wet. But we're doing our thing here. Anybody else have any other questions? Because I'm running out. Jack. Good to see you. Hi, Faye. I sent you a thank you note, Faye, this weekend. It was very remiss of me. It took me a long time to get that out. Sin McNinn is back. And we'll see who shows up. Mostly like, well, Kim. But like I said, I maybe made a mistake by sending a second invitation, although I put big letters at the top to notice it. I don't know how she organizes her time over there, so. But we'll get it straightened out eventually. And if it's not today, we'll do it another day. I know she's been busy getting back from England, and I think she said something about she's been helping the family, taking care of her mother, and she's here. She's here. Oh no. Yay! Yay! You're here.
I'm here. I'm so sorry. My setup takes longer now because I'm plugging into our modem, and so I have to trail this thing through the house, and I always forget that I'm doing that now. So I'm so sorry.
No, it's not that.
I
I don't know if you knew.
am.
I got times mixed up. So I went 1 p.m. my time. So I've been up for half an hour already today. Had a
Oh
lot of
no.
lovely people with wonderful questions for us.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's okay. They're used to it. It's okay.
My apologies, everyone.
I have two computers. I have the computer I run off of, and then I have the big screen where I'm watching you. And then I have a little screen here where people are saying, "Yay, howdy," and they're so happy you're all here. And Sharon Sipe is our troll slayer today. And hello to everyone. And they just couldn't, they were really excited. So they actually gave me some more questions to ask you when you finally showed up.
Oh gosh. Okay.
But
I have questions. Okay.
okay,
Okay.
for
All right.
but you don't know if you don't know how the show runs. What I do is I always have a stone of the day, and I pick it at 9 in the morning, and I just say, okay, what do I need to know about today? So today we got, for those, sorry, you guys have already heard this. We got Labradorite. Do you have a piece of Labradorite?
I probably do.
Okay. And I was
What
sort
does
of
it look? What does Labradorite look like? What does that look
in a
like?
real, the thing in there is very idealistic. It looks like this.
Oh, I don't know if I have that.
Well,
I
I'll
don't
tell
know
you
if
what,
I do
I
have
pulled it,
Labradorite.
and what it says on the card is take action. That's what this stone means. And I'm like, okay, and I kind of go with it. But then when I read what the divas, the diva rocks, the divas of this rock run, it goes, allows you to connect with the mystery and magic of life, assists in awakening magic in your soul, brings deep awareness of your spiritual knowledge, allowing it to manifest in your day-to-day life, brings spiritual insight, supports your integration of spiritual experiences into this physical world, and opens and activates the third eye. And I thought, God, that's a perfect definition for what your channel does.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, and then
We're
what?
all on the same page.
Right, and then also, rhodochrosite fell out of the deck when I was doing this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It can be this pink. It also can
Colors.
be sort of rustic deserty pink. I use a lot of it in my grids. It's a very, very heavy grounding stone. It actually, the chakra it runs is the heart. It's for people. I use a lot in people seeking elements of the heart. And it says, this powerful crystal is for self-healing and acceptance. Brings the energy of unconditional love to assist in balancing, soothing, and healing all emotions. Assists you in becoming more self-aware. So when I put those two stones together, I thought, you know, that really is kind of what Kim does. And I'm so excited to have you
Thank
here.
you.
Because, you know, so we had a couple questions that go specifically to you, but if you don't know what I'm doing, you're going to be part of a series I'm going to have where people can watch about things. And what I'm talking about is different divination tools, because I came up with the garden.
Right.
And this was our reading for you coming today, and it was, we'd have clarity by speaking truly from the heart. Our values are in our in the throat and truth category, and this is a body, mind, spirit, clarity, and values. Those are the 5 stones you throw. And the body in this one was really interesting. It said that the things we would discuss today would help our body being the tool we have to live this life with, bringing it forward, locking together both the present and the future out of air. And air is where everything moves forward in the garden. And then our spirit is, we're old souls. This is old soul spirit stuff. And then our minds, this is great. The tree of life is just the best spot on the board. And it says all things will be clear and all minds will be refreshed. So that's what so guys, if we don't do that, I'm sorry, we're trying. We're doing our best.
The tall order, but we'll try.
We'll try. But because you are your own divination tool in a way, because you've let go of the cards. What else did you use? I know you've used pendulums, I think I heard you talk about once.
Yeah, and I'm not, I still use those things when I'm reading for myself, or when I'm reading for a close family member who I might have some bias, because of course, your family members, you want everything to work out and everything to be perfect.
Right.
So you can have that bias. I mean, you're a human being, so we do carry biases with us. But yeah, I do use the dowsing rods sometimes. I will, not so much the pendulum, but I use the dowsing rods or cards every once in a while. But yeah, most of the time it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm the tool.
Yeah, well, and that's because, see, I don't know how many of you are aware, but Kim and Free Spirit, Debbie, have a very good introductory course to just using your intuition, and it inspires you to do it a lot of different ways. And the reason I took the course is because slap my hands, I couldn't touch cards, slap my hands, I couldn't touch my crystals. I had to just kind of do it for myself, which is something I am not at times totally at peace with. Okay, but it ended up being really good, and I even did the mediumship section, which I'm really not comfortable with, and it ended up being a lovely experience. It was wonderful. So I just had to go with the gut and go with me. It's not something I feel comfortable doing all the time. I totally admire those who do it. But someone asked me, when you first went out in the last election, you got on some group shows where you were working with people, and somebody who was on one of those shows, who shall remain nameless, said, "What the hell's she doing over there with that piece of paper?" I said, "She's a scribbler." And they said, "What's a scribbler?" And I said, "A scribbler is a person who it's an automatic writing thing." And I've done automatic writing. I don't have much problems with that one. So, you explain your path from wherever little Kim started to end up being big Kim.
Well, I think, so where do I begin? So my path, I guess, on the channel kind of started with Trump getting elected and people being very scared and worried and nervous about the state of the nation and what was going to happen. And I just kept getting a repeated message to let people know it was going to be okay. He'd be gone, and our country would survive, and it was going to be rough, but it would be okay. So that's kind of where it started for me. And of course, I tried to get my sister to start a channel because I didn't want to do it, but I kept getting a very, very loud, repetitive message, and I finally just thought, okay, I'll do this, and I jumped on and did a video, and I thought wherever it takes me, it takes me.
Right.
I didn't have it was something I did not have any expectations in because it was scary. And I think sometimes when we're doing something that's new and alien, it can be the best thing because you do have an amount of surrender involved. And so I did kind of surrender to what was going to happen for good or bad. And I think anytime you can go in to anything with a trust in the universe, I guess you'd say, it can be a really good thing. And then I started doing readings. People would ask me, will you do a reading? And I thought, well, do I do readings? I guess I could. So I started doing readings, and then and then I thought, I feel like my purpose in this is to demystify this a little bit for people, to let them know it's something you can learn. We all come in with some kind of connection back to source. We all come in with that, and we shut it out, or we turn away from it because we get so involved in our daily lives. We get so involved in this very dense, very dramatic, very intense play. We get involved in that when we kind of turn away from it, our spirit guides, whatever language you want to use, source, guides, angels, we turn away from it. It never turns away from us. We turn away to get involved in the drama and raise kids and go to school and do all the things that we do, and get very involved in this existence. And that's what we're here to do. We're supposed to do that we're doing what we're supposed to do. But when we need that guidance or that connection, it's there. We just need to turn back and find it again. But we all have it. We all have the ability to plug in, and some people use tools. It's a great way to connect, and some people use there's all kinds of, I'm sure you've been talking about all the different ways you can do this. You can turn back to source and get some connection and some answers if you need them. But that's my story, I guess.
Well, I had a couple questions that go directly to you. Like,
Sure.
How do you learn to listen for your guides? How do you know it's your guides' voices, or have that planted in your brain and you know it's your guides?
It takes a while. It takes a while to recognize your guides. It's like I do it all the time, so it's very, I can feel their energy. I can feel when they've come in. But it can take some time, and I think that if you can start by kind of asking your guides to come in, we usually say and I have some classes that are just recorded classes, and I talk about asking your guides a yes question. So the answer is going to be yes. Do you love me? Are you here for me? Those kind of questions. And then wait for the response, because you know the answer is yes. So just wait for something to affect you. It may come in as a yes, as like a clairaudience. It may come in a picture. It may come in a feeling. But that's a good place to start, because that's the first response you get is a yes, and then ask a no question. Will you ever leave me? Are you going to go? Are you gonna, are you gonna desert me? The answer will be no. Feel that, and then trust it. That's the biggest thing. Being open to receiving, and then trusting. If you have those two things, and you're able to kind of relinquish control, because we're people, right? So we want to have control of things, and to be able to release that and just allow, and then trust it. When you get it, even if it's a tiny, tiny little thing, I always say, just say thank you. Just accept it and say thank you. Don't go into the headspace of, was that real? Am I crazy? Did I really hear that? But if you think you may have gotten something, just say thank you. Because what happens is you're opening the door at that point. When you end with gratitude, you are opening that door and you're leaving it open. And you're beginning the process of communication.
Yes. That I agree with all of that, and it's like even when they wake you up one day and say you're going to create this thing that's never existed before, and then you're going to write a book, and you go, "What?" I didn't say no. Do people who watch readers and psychic or the psychic and the gifted, and then call themselves, say, like, I'm really relating to everything you're saying, how could those people be anti-vaxxers?
Okay, ask that question again.
Okay, I know. It took me a while the first time I read it.
Yeah.
Do people who watch readers, like psychic and gifted people,
right,
are they just calling themselves awakened when they are still being an anti-vaxxer?
part of our part of the sacredness of being on this plane is having free will. It's why we're here.
Right.
We're here to make choices and feel consequences. And when you are a spiritual person, or you're enlightened, or you're awake, you don't get a pass because of that. You still misunderstand things, or you make mistakes, or and then you still have to have the consequences of that, or you make a choice that you have the best intentions, but it doesn't work out, and you have to suffer the consequences. You don't get a pass because you're awakened or you're spiritual. No. And I think when people are when they listen to psychics, so they have their gift of discernment. They have the ability to accept or reject things that resonate with them and things that don't. And I just think so that's where I come down on it. If somebody is an anti-vaxxer, my earthly self would say, well, that's not, they might get sick, or they might spread the disease, or they might, so that's part of me. But my spiritual part of me knows that they're on their own journey, and I don't control that. And I can say whatever I want on my channel, and it will either resonate with people or it won't, and it's okay. Once I release that message, put it out there, my part is done. I've done that. Now it's up to the sitter, if I'm doing a reading, or the viewer, to decide what feels good to me, what feels right for my life right now, and that's where they are. It's okay. We're all in different. We'd love to snap our fingers, have everyone just be awake, right? But that just isn't the way it is. And so there, you have to just allow. You have to allow. This is an experience we're all having, and we're all in a different place spiritually. Some of us have been here a bazillion times, and some of us are just arriving. So we cannot. I always use the example of preschool and college. A college student wouldn't look down on a preschooler because they're in preschool. They'd say, that's where they are. That's where you start. That's where you are. You don't know the stuff in college because you're not there yet. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It just, that is where they are.
And I think that's hard sometimes for people to accept, because they just, and there may be part of them that is awakened. It's just, they're not gonna have a body to walk around and be awakened in very long if they keep doing crap like that. But that's my personal opinion. Okay.
Absolutely.
This one Jane who's on earlier, and I told her that I had friends who were mediums, and she said she does mediumship for some family members and friends. Particularly someone's grandmother comes through, and she gets the accent the grandmother had. And she said, is that real? I mean, do you do that when you do mediumship? She asked the wrong medium. I don't do it unless I'm forced, so I wouldn't remember. But have you found that when you do that, or can you just hear that they have an accent and maybe you don't carry it through?
so much of what when I do readings is through feeling. So
Okay.
sometimes I can feel like they feel like they're from somewhere else, or
Mm-hmm.
they feel like they don't feel like they feel like, or they feel like they, have a they have a farmer feel, or they
Right.
have a
Uh-huh.
feel like they work with the land, things like that
Mm-hmm.
come through. So if it comes through, it might be in a feeling kind of way.
Right.
When I hear things, sometimes almost feel like I almost hear a resonance of a voice. It can be that powerful.
Yeah.
It depends on because the spirit that you're talking to is doing their best to communicate, and some are just like here, some are great communicators and they can do it, and others they have a harder time. So depending on how close they are, how much they're willing to kind of get, I mean, sometimes I feel like they're right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. And some people, if they come in kind of hesitant, or like maybe they're ashamed of something they've done, or they
Mm-hmm.
weren't the best dad or the best mom, they can be, it almost like they're far away. They're not quite sure if they want to
Mm-hmm.
come in and get into this, but they just want to say, I'm here. So you really do kind of have to, it really is, for me, it's we're very individual.
Right.
We're individual here. Spirits are very individual. And so, and usually what I'll ask is for my guides to help if
Mm-hmm.
if I can't hear them, or if they're having trouble. And in that case, it just feels like my guides. It doesn't really feel like the person. And it can be a little harder because you're not really picking up exactly what they're like. But that's
Yeah.
how it works for me.
The one
so
time-
as far as an accent, I would say I might get a feel for kind
Mm-hmm.
of the region they're from, or something like that. Or sometimes I've had where I can tell they're calling the person something other than their name. I just know they're calling out to them, but I'm not sure what it is, but it's something other than their name. And a lot of times it will be like, oh, they were from Spain, so they called me this. They're from Mexico, they called me this. So
Yeah.
that's how, if it's an accent, that's how it happens.
Yeah, because the one time when I got kind of ambushed and the mother said, I'm coming through, I'm going to talk to my daughter, and she knew enough, my thing's strong enough, and all of a sudden Addie, my guide, she said, she's here. And I said, who's here? She said, her mother. I said, no, I don't do that. And Addie said, you're doing it now. And what I did is I explained to the girl, if I'm going to talk to Addie, Addie's going to go to her. And so we're playing telephone here. But it ended up, I had the message that, and it was weird because this woman was from LA and she'd just flown into Dallas because she was trying to make up a major life decision, and her mother died when she was very young. And she said, my mother used to read cards, and she said, I've never had anyone read my cards because it seemed, it was part of my life, but not part of my life. And I said, well, sit down. If you don't like the reading, you don't have to pay me. And that always intrigues them. Anyway, so she sat down, and she's a charming woman, and it ended up she knew no one in Dallas. She'd come here so she could be completely alone. She was staying in a B&B, and the vintage store I worked at is on the things you just have to see in Dallas. It's like such good Texarkana. So she was, and we were talking, and then she was talking a little bit about her mom and her mom being a reader and she went, oh. And then Addie said, she's here. And then I said, your mother's here. Do you want to talk to her? Because, I don't think the girl invited her in. And it ended up, the message from her mother was, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't the daughter's fault that she died. She was not disappointed in having a baby girl. But she died because she knew that if she had stayed there, she would ruin her. Because her personality was so large. And that's what this girl had been raised with. Your mother had this incredibly large personality. And then her mother said, tell her the thing she's deciding on, she knows the right thing to do, and it's time. And the woman just burst into tears, and I said, why? I mean, it's a poignant message, but And she said, her aunt, the only person she knew from her mother's family, had told her once, your mother left because she would have overwhelmed you.
Oh, wow.
And so I said, well, apparently Mom's here saying, go for it, girl. And I said, what are you going to do now? And she had 3 more days. She was supposed to be in Dallas. She said, I'm booking the first flight back to California and getting on with my life. So, I mean, I realize being a medium is like this incredibly powerful tool. I'm still a chicken. Anyway.
Well, and it's not something that I don't ever really call myself a medium. I if people come in, they come in. If they don't, they don't. I don't
Right.
really,
Well,
it is kind of like that, um, but yeah, it is a very powerful thing, and it's one of those things that I really, when I'm doing it, I just have to surrender to what they're saying and what they're doing, what they're trying to convey. And usually when you do that, it's very powerful for the
right.
person that you're talking to. But um, those are the readings where I find myself questioning more often than any other kind of reading, because I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to upset
Yeah.
someone. I don't want to make someone feel bad. So, and that's always the form that, for me, for my ego,
Mhm.
that's the form it takes. Can I do this? Is this right? What am I doing? Can I, so when that comes in, I know that I'm getting, I need to back up and get out of that ego space of,
Right.
and just stick to exactly what I'm getting. But it's a trick. It's very, yeah, it's when you're doing things like that, you really feel like you're in the thick of it, right? It feels very important what you're doing. You
Yeah.
realize the importance of it, and it can be a little bit of a head spin, but you just, at those points, I just buckle down and do the work, and I just kind of try to get out of the way.
That's right. Okay,
Sorry
the
about
other
that.
other thing we got several queries about your videos with orbs, where you're sitting in your
Right.
chair and the orb. Somebody said, do those orbs go into you? If they do, can you feel them?
So it's interesting because and I know you don't do political things, but when something big happens, political,
Right.
I can almost feel the people that are subscribed to the channel. I can feel the collective feeling of what's
Right.
happening. And the other day when all the stuff came out about Texas, I could just
And I live
feel
in
the,
Texas, so trust
oh my
me,
gosh, do you
I
really,
oh yeah.
Nancy? So you've got to be feeling it then. That collective just uh, panic, almost worry, nervousness, fear, sadness, and I could feel that so heavily, and I just felt like I literally turned to my guys and said, I don't know what to do. How do I help people? How do I help people on the channel? What do I do? What do I say? I just was beside myself with wanting to do the right thing and say the right thing to ease their suffering. And my guide said, do an orb video and we'll give you the message. So I sat down in the chair behind me, and I knew there'd be orbs that came in, but as they came through me, you can see them kind of passing through my face or my head, and that's when I was hearing them. So it's almost like they passed through me to talk to me, so that I could. And I was looking at the orbs so I could kind of understand what was happening, because it was such a powerful session. Because I knew that they had told me to sit here. We'll take care of it. Just sit there and take the message down. And so I'm sitting there. I'm kind of thanking them for coming in and talking to them, but I'm watching them on my camera and how they're going through. And that's when I realized that, oh, I can hear them when they go through my head. That's when they're talking to me, and they were giving messages like, "We support you. We're here. Don't be afraid." Things like that. Very just sweet, loving messages. And so, can I feel them? Not really. It's more of a I can hear them. At least that's the way. Maybe other people who have a more sensitive physical feelings, maybe they might be able to feel them. I'm trying to think if I ever do. Sometimes I'll hear a whoosh, that kind of thing, but it usually is some kind of audience for me, something audio. Yeah. So, but as far as feeling them, it's not really to me it doesn't feel like you feel someone touching you or something. It
No,
doesn't feel like
no.
that. Sometimes I'll get chills because I do get
Yeah.
a lot of chills even in readings, so I might get chills, so I know they're here. But that's when I first put two and two together, was in that last video that I did, where I was like, oh, that's when they're talking to me. That's why they're passing through my brain or my head, is to so I can hear them.
Okay, I have one question. What sort of a camera do you use to catch the orbs?
So it's the camera.
It's your security camera.
It's back here. It's just a Ring camera. It's a
Mhm.
security camera, basically. And we put it in here for that reason, because I knew there was
Something
action
going
on. And I know that as much as people believe what we do, and believe in us as people, they trust us. To see something with your own eyes is a different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's completely different. And it speaks to that more human, skeptical side that kind of is the last thing to kind of let go. And so a while ago, I got the idea to put these things up because not all the time, but if something is happening or something I feel like it might help, or I don't know. Yeah, I'll get a feeling like I should put one up, and I'll just do it.
It's really cool, because it's hard to explain to people, because now that I sort of live in the splendid isolation that I do, I can feel the other energies around me. I used to use other people and being bustling in other places to avoid becoming who I was. And I got that real plain. No, you're going home, you're sitting your butt down, and you're doing it this way, And because if COVID had not happened, and if I had not had to stop doing things the way I was doing them, not that I was out doing outrageous things, but just the overly busyness of our world, that's what threw me into dealing with rocks that don't hardly move at all. You have to really sit still to get the vibration off a rock, let me tell you. We got a couple of other questions. One woman has a brother who died, and then he drowned, and it took 2 years to find his body, and she has feelings he comes back to see her. And trust me, Rosemary, if you come back on my regular show, I'll pull some Von Prague cards for you, because I don't think it's fair with so many people in the room. Quite honestly, we have over 100 viewers right now, which is like a whole lot for my little channel, and I can answer those sort of more personal questions, and I'm sure Kim can, but not when we're being bombed with. There's so much energy coming in this room saying, please tell me which way is up.
Right.
One of the things we got is languages you use to speak to your guides. And my first thing is, if you're shy about talking to your guides, or you're not sure what you're doing, learn a little bit about automatic writing, because you kind of do that anyway. And that's how I found my second guide, Frank. I knew I had Addie, and so I said, I know there's another one here. And I just said, okay, and I just let my pen go across, and I got Frank's whole story, like on one page.
Oh, wow.
And he's my big guide. I had a medium who said, I want to see the angels and the guides around you. She was on the other screen like you're showing, ah! And I said, it's Frank. Frank, come home. She said, that is the biggest, strongest, totally male block of energy she'd ever run into. And I said, yes, wow. Frank. And I said, yeah, that's the reason I survived my youth, because trust me, Frank hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here.
Now, Nancy, the woman who asked said she was getting messages from her brother, she felt like he was coming to her. What was her name?
Rosemary, and she said he had drowned, and it took them 2 years to find his body.
Right.
And she said, and so she just asking about that.
Well, and if she's feeling like he's coming to her or trying to come to her, let him in. is there to have a conversation. I had one woman who, um, she said that every morning, which I thought was a beautiful idea, every morning she puts up, and she's not a medium, you know, she's
Mm-hmm.
searching, she's searching out these things right now. But she said every morning I put a picture of my grandmother up, I get my cup of tea, and I just chat with my grandmother. And
Mm-hmm.
it was such a beautiful exercise, and so if Rosemary wants to do something like that and just see what comes into your mind. If you're talking to your brother and you just start talking to them, what usually happens is midway through the conversation, when you feel like you're just talking to yourself, you realize something else is taking place. You're getting answers, or um, something else has entered. Um, we're all a conduit, you know. We're all capable of this stuff. So if she's feeling like, I feel like he's reaching out to me, she doesn't need us.
Mm-hmm.
He's reaching out to her. Let
No,
him in.
you
What do
know,
you want to say?
and there's a
You
lot
know?
of the things we do, you know, at the end of my divination things, I still have to get a numerologist, and I've got Jeffrey Ripe color coming, which ought to be all kinds of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I get kind of enough of the backgrounds, and I want to talk to people about how you are your own divination tool. You, whether you pick up the cards, the gardens, the oracle cards, the pendulums, whatever it is, and try all of them, because they're all kinds of interesting ways to feel the energy. And if it's you feel safer putting the energy out there at the end of a wire with a stone, that's where it's
Yep.
happier for you. But I've seen
Yep.
people, when I used to have pendulums on my table, when I read, and they'd go, well, what is this energy you use? And I'd say, sit down and I'll show you. And I would have them hold the pendulum and hold it over their own hand. And when they start feeling it swing, and they start feeling the energy, and they know it's not me, I'm sitting over here doing.
Right. Right.
Um, I think those are interesting exercises for us, because I think the worst thing that can happen, and I had a rule, I wouldn't read anyone more than once every 3 months. If they showed up every Tuesday at the wine bar once every 3 months, because otherwise they'll have you live their lives for them. And if I told them all the stories in my life, they'd probably run in horror that they even wanted to talk to me. But, and I can't do my life much better than that. But I think, and I know you have have a very long waiting list and all that good stuff for readings, I guess, from what I hear. But I like to hand people a grid, and then they'll call me up and they say, what, this and this. I said, it's your grid. What is it telling you to do? How is it? The stones I sent you, what are they telling you? How does Kim want to use the stones that I sent her? They're not my stones anymore. They're yours.
Right.
And
Right.
I would hope people would learn that what we do, it's a magical thing. I'm not saying it's not a magical thing, but that magic is in every single one of us. I'm absolutely convinced.
Absolutely. It is. It is. And a lot of it is just, trust what you get. Trust what you
Mm-hmm.
get. If you think you got something, or someone's trying to, and especially with loved ones, you're already connected to them.
Mm-hmm.
So much so. So half the battle is done, because you're already so connected to these people. And by the way, when I was talking about Rosemary's brother, I got full chills, which is always my sign of, like, that's exactly
That's
right.
That's what's going
So
on.
he's saying that's exactly right. Just start talking to me. Yeah, I'm getting him again. Start talking to me. So when you have those connections too, you're halfway there. Just start talking.
And it's not for just Rosemary. It's for anybody who has.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's for anybody who's anybody who's listening to this. I did an angel prayer once, and you got to go to a dance, and the angels took you up the stairs, and there was a whole line of your loved ones that had departed. And my sister walked over and said, "You want to dance?" And my sister and I parted in probably, I hadn't talked to her for 25 years when she died.
Wow.
And, there's a whole lot of both of us involved in that. But, I always kind of felt like it was great unsettled business. By the end of that dance, there was none of that regrets or whatever. She needed that 25 years to be where she was, and I needed that 25 years to be where I was. And, you know, as much as that may seem to other people, oh, well, how could you abandon your family? Well, it's a matter of abandoning. It was a matter of taking care of me. And for her, it was really taking care of her. So, you know, I could pull a picture of my sister out and talk to her. I'm not, you know, I'm sure we'd get along as well as we ever did. We were too close in age and too much alike.
Right. Right.
Also, for you all, you weren't nuts. The first 3 minutes Kim was on, I hadn't pushed the right button to have her face here. They could hear your voice.
Oh,
So it's like, how's Nancy doing that? Is she really?
Yes.
Rosemary said you made her cry, but she's going to reach out to her brother.
Please do. Yeah. Well, like you said, we all have that ability to reach out, especially to loved ones. And yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, as far as you're right, with the way that I do readings, I almost didn't do them. I almost wanted to kind of move on to just teaching, but I felt like I needed to give that time a little bit for people to get used to the idea. Oh, I'm not going to be doing readings, but it is because I don't want people to become dependent in any way. Because they don't have to. I mean, most of the time, and maybe you run into this too, Nancy, is that half the time when you do a reading, you're validating what they already got or what they already know. They just want you to say it too.
Well, it's not only that. I will tell you, if you ever go to a reader and they tell you stuff that comes out of their mouth that's 100% BS and you cannot relate to it at all, run for the door. I used to work psychic fairs, and there were people who would show up with their deck of cards. And it's another one of my weird stories. 2 sisters were there. It was on a Sunday morning, and they'd been there the Saturday before. And they were going by, and the one sister goes, a card reader. And I mean, you get a lot of that. And this was in the 70s, guys. And so I said, okay. And I said, well, I'm a good card reader. And she said, oh no, these people are telling me nothing but lies. And I said, sit down. If you don't like what I say, you don't have to pay me. If you paid them and they lied to you, I'm very sorry. That's got nothing to do with me. Listen to me. So she sat down and she said, how's my husband? And I laid down the cards and it showed that he was dead. Now, this is really hard when you're a tarot reader because we don't do time real well. So he might have been fine when she left in the morning, and he could have gone since. But finally, I put out a few clarifiers and I said, he's dead. And he knew he was dying, and before he died, he fixed that damn screen door on your back of your house, and she got pale and she was grabbing her sister's arm. I said, you were on him for 10 years to fix that damn door? And all of a sudden he fixed it. And I said, when he died, you found all the paperwork in a drawer, all in the right order, so you knew exactly what to do. And she went, you're real. You're real. And there's the risk to that of what if he wasn't dead? She would have just had another weird reader that she met. But if I've had readers read me, and I just kind of went, yeah. I had a reader one time who said that I should just absolutely get away from my second husband no matter what because he's a hideous, horrible man. Yeah, he had his days, but he wasn't that, and we had Patrick and we ran a business together and, but she just, I don't know what part of his personality she picked up that she didn't like, but so you just kind of got to decide for yourself. If we say crap and it sounds like crap, then, and by the way, Kim, I don't do politics, but trust me, the reason I don't is because I feel every ounce of angst, and what I did when I heard what happened that midnight, I called a friend of mine that I knew who was in the women's rights movement, and I said, what's the best group I could send $10 to? And she told me it's a group of women, and actually I knew 2 of them who organized it, and they're helping women get out of Texas to get to where it's safe and legal.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to write this. Do you have it?
I'll find it for you. I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah. Send it to me in an email.
But, and I sent them $10, and just by taking that action, my angel said, this is how it's going to happen. We all have to take action. I'm about to do a show on another channel with someone about dark money and how it gets into politics, because to me that's politics, but it's what can I do as an individual. I'm also going to do a show on activism, and I've done one already on activism and how to empower ourselves, because if I read cards and saw the things I know about this and didn't share my paths forward that are positive, I would be negating all the skills I have. So, but I don't read politics because too much of how people read politics, it's not to me what's politics. Politics is how can I take action, how can I move. Too much of political readings are, oh, let's get their butt, and being
Right.
very negative. And the thing is, the more you talk about the dysfunction, the more you emphasize and empower the dysfunction. So,
Right.
that's, and trust
And
me,
you know what?
I live in a
So
state that dysfunction is, we got the capital D on dysfunction.
Right. Well, and I remember early on, my guides would always say, either go very, very small
Mm-hmm.
or very, very big when something happens. Either back up and look at the big
Mhm.
spiritual reason for something and what's really going on in a big collective way, or get very, very small and look at yourself and where are you and how is your spirit and what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And once that is done, once you have done what you can do, then let it go, because you
Mhm.
don't want it to just sit there and make you mad and make you spin and make you you can't do that to yourself. So they would always tell me, go very small,
Mhm.
inward, inside you, or very big, a big spiritual kind of collective. Let's look at the big picture. Because when you're in between, kind of going from side to side, it can get very noisy
Well,
and
I know
very hard.
personally, physically for me, that's how I got to be 300 pounds. And only when I cleared my heart and cleared my energy and said, that's not going to dominate me anymore. And then
Right.
I picked an eating path that made it easier, but I could have done it, I think, with any system that's a reasonable eating path. And
Mhm.
as my doctor keeps reminding me, I am actually aging backwards now. So,
Wow.
all for
Amazing.
it. But
Have you done any shows on weight?
oh
Weight
yeah,
loss
and
or
that's
weight
been my
stuff?
most
Okay.
watched show.
I was just
As a matter of
wondering, yeah.
fact, I was gonna do some more, but I'm really not a weight loss guru. But there's a guy, you guys can write this down. It's Lean Body Mind, and he runs a keto show called Serious Keto, and it's cooking wonderful recipes. But I tried to get him to come over and talk on my channel, but he's busy doing keto and he had no idea about. But then he did come up with this Lean Body Mind, and he used to be a Six Sigma trainer in corporate world. So he's taking the concepts of taking the spiritual and the what you need to do to lose weight and how to integrate it into your life. And right now he's trying to teach a lot of fat people how to meditate. It's not going well. But no, it is. He's
Right.
really, his name is Steve. If you go over, he's got a great YouTube channel. Go over and like him. He's really a good guy, and he would occasionally, I would hear it in his keto recipes. I heard a whole lot of spiritualism behind his weight loss, and it ends up that there's like a whole lot more than a little bit.
Right.
So,
Right.
but I do talk about it, and I'm constantly, thank you. I will get that to the Texas women. Someone just put some money up. Thank you, Bones.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll both post on our channel about the group of women. I think it's called the FCL, but I need to make sure because
Yeah.
I don't remember my own name sometimes. I have a question for you, Kim, and this is very personal. I have a friend who has just gone through sort of a life-altering thing. He had an attachment to him, and he had a healer work with him, and she got it off of him. Okay, she got it out. And he's an incredibly sensitive person. When I taught him how to read tarot, I didn't have to really teach him. I mean, he knew
Right.
what to do,
Instinctively,
and
yeah.
and he's had a rough life. He's had 3 open heart surgeries, and his lungs periodically blow up all by themselves. I mean, it's
Oh,
a
wow.
weird stuff. And it's all been attached back to this, but he has been told that he is to be a medium, which is kind of what I always thought he should be. How should he start? I mean, what should he start reading? What should he start doing? What should he start looking at?
So, what is his, do you, can you
Bill.
tell me just his first name?
Bill.
No. Okay, so well, and everybody's kind of different especially when it comes to mediumship. But I feel like, with him, I'm just kind of doing what I do. I'm just kind of listening to what they're telling me for him to sit specifically, because I just felt like I should. But, so I feel like they're saying, when I say they, I just mean like his guides, or that people speaking for about him, that care about him, that he is he's incredibly sensitive. So he's an empath, but he may want to work with first making sure that he has no fear left, because I feel like he has some fear that's still kind of not necessarily blocking him, but might filter things differently.
Yes. Okay.
And so I feel like you should start there, like work on breaking down or figuring out where that fear is, still is, and then start working with his empath skills, feeling things, asking a spirit that he trusts to come in, and then feel them, try to feel them, because to me it feels like he's very much like me. He may get a word or a picture, but it's going to be all in that kind of heart chakra feeling thing. But for other people, that is a great place to start. Is do they have anything that might be stopping them or blocking them, even if it's scared, I can't do this. Maybe I'm the one person in the world who has no connection at all. Things like that can put you off trying. But the best thing is just to try. See if you can do it. Start talking. Start inviting the spirits in. Of course, ask for your guidance, your guides' protection, and do a protective prayer or whatever you want to do to kind of make yourself feel like you're protected. But if you are open to receive and your intention is there to contact and have a positive experience, you can do it. You can. You just have to listen, be open, pay attention. Yeah. Become very present and pay attention to what's happening. Any word that comes in, a song that comes in. And for me, it was like movie and television things. Anything that comes in that feels like, where did that come from? 9 times out of 10, it's a message, or it's something that's starting to stir inside you, that's getting connected. Give it a try.
No, he's going to be really good at it. I'm glad though he went through getting healed, because he really had, and I'm a close old friend of his, and there's no way I could reach in and I don't do that anyway, but he found a good person to work with. It's Lean Body Mind is that site. I looked on it quickly, looked it up. I will make sure that Kim gets the names of the women's groups in Texas that I think are people I've actually worked with at times that are really good. October 2nd, I think they're going to be marching all over the country. And if you can march, I don't march because I still have 2 artificial knees. They work fine, but they just don't march. But I'm helping support some of the groups that are. One of the groups I supported is getting face masks and hand sanitizer to have at the rally for people to make them feel more secure. Anything we can do.
That's right. Yeah, whatever you can do. Maybe you're not in a position where you can do a lot, but an email of support, or calling your senator. I mean, those are things you can do right from
Well,
your
we
bed if
just
you
got a
want to.
wonderful
So,
post, and I haven't seen it, so I'm taking this from Eliza. The federal AG Merrick Garland states that the Justice Department will protect women seeking abortions in Texas. Announced it 2 hours ago. That means they're going to lock that whole. I never understood how they could have written a crazy posse law like that. But I've seen, not only that, guys, but I don't know how many of you know this, but Texas legislature only meets every 2 years, so they got to do everything in like 100 days. And then they can call special sessions for certain things. But they passed 666 laws this year. Can you imagine? That's the number. Ah, they couldn't do 665. I mean,
okay, well.
I mean, let's just brand ourselves, you know?
Right. That's not the universe speaking. I don't know.
God, they're terrible. But is there anything else that I can help you with or let you know about, or
that really is the main thing. I mean, I get a lot of people, because of COVID, and because a lot of people ate their feelings. They anything to feel better during that time, or because we couldn't see loved ones and we were worried and scared. I get a lot of calls right now about, I put on this weight and I don't know how to, and I think it has to be all integrated, right? It does have to be body, mind,
you
and
have
spirit.
to. One of the reasons. Well, okay, for those of you who know about my infamous eggs, I actually have a real company manufacturing them. We've redesigned a medallion so they can put the stones on. Wednesday I go and buy stones because I want to get them from a source I know, so I know they're real crystals. They're going to be sent to Wisconsin, and within the next 6 weeks I expect to have 7 chakra eggs, 7 sets of 7 eggs. And once I see how those work, then we will be full blown back into eggs. And the eggs are, thank you so much. God, people are putting money in here. Woo!
Aww.
And I will make sure it goes to all the to the Texas women's things, the groups. So I'll have more information on the eggs and how they work. But as soon as I'm starting a whole series of courses for people who've bought the garden. It's free, but it's going to be a private Zoom thing. And I have Kim. You know the book that they told me I was going to write? Well, this is part of it. This like summary sheets. I got workbooks.
Oh my gosh.
I get the whole deal. And it's going to teach me as much as it's going to teach them. So, and despite the fact I've set out a couple of dysfunctional mailings about the class, I now have one where you can attach your email. I had 40 people sign up and like, who the hell are they? I'm not as technically savvy as I'd like to be, but I am seriously, as soon as I get those two things going, I've managed to hover at 199 pounds, which is coming down from 300 to 199. Some days I go up a little bit, some days I go down a little bit, but it's doable, and I lost most of that weight before COVID and when all of the outrageous people were doing their outrageous things. So it's a doable thing, and I think if we can create a spiritual community, because if I hadn't cleared out the negative energy, I can tell you all the triggers that would have put me right back in the bad food. But the thing is, in the kind of way I ate that worked for me, it actually makes you more sane. It takes the sugar out, it takes the sugar highs, the sugar lows, it balances your body. So I'm going to talk more about that because I think when I did the show on my fat self, I showed my fat self in the picture and people were back and said, that can't be you. Yeah, you pile 100 pounds on 5'4" and it's there. What do you mean it wasn't me? Look at this. But
and Nancy, when a couple of I don't remember what video it was, but at the end, my guides just kind of threw in this thing about food. And
Mm-hmm.
they said, everybody needs to start looking at their food.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got a thing about meat as well, and that we need to really start looking at what we're putting in our body. And I really felt like it had to do with the next chapter, what's coming
Yeah.
next, this kind of shift we're talking about.
Right.
It had to do kind of with that. And I didn't get the whole, I didn't know everything, but that was the message, was start there. Start looking at your food. And they showed me a Skittle because I love candy. So
Uh-oh.
they're like, start knowing what's in this stuff. Don't just throw it in your body, because it's gonna make a difference. It's gonna mean more as we move into this this kind of shift.
Well, I know that
consciousness.
Andrea, who has been a vegetarian since time began, since she was a teenager, she just couldn't put any more meat in her mouth. And I'm not there yet. I mean, I'm just not there yet. And right now, to keep my body balanced, I can't imagine doing it with veggies. But I'm a very good cook. And I could probably I can make anything pretty much taste really well. But I think the other thing people have to be aware of about food is our food supply chains are going to start getting chewed up. And we're going to need to know what we're getting closer to home. Fortunately, Texas has always had really good farmers markets, really good ones. And the city of Dallas actually owns an excellent one that's just full of everything, but it's, for the most part, you can meet the people who grew it out of the ground. And I think those are all issues we're going to have to take up,
Yeah.
Because right now, I can tell you right now, guys, I'm having a hard time getting rocks because so many crystals come from out of the country, and they can't get it. The ports are backed up in Houston. It's backed up in LA, and they're just stopping. And I was in the rock shop, and I was like, I need more yellow, and they went in the back and they dug around and found some, but
Wow.
my little stones for the eggs, I'm not going to have trouble getting. We already went through that, but there's some supply chain things that are going to happen. We're going to have to start changing. And since I'm such a child of the 50s, I was used to just going out and finding whatever I want.
Yeah, we've all gotten accustomed to that,
Yeah,
right?
and so I've kept Kim longer than I told her I would. So we've done an hour and 2 minutes. I want to thank you so much for coming here and talking with us. And I cannot tell you how whenever you're the one, if I see your shows up, man, I'm watching it because you have so much grace and so much peace in your voice. And to me, that's so important because I don't need any more fear in my life. I've had my fill of it. And I realize watching politics that not everyone's going to do everything just the way people think it ought to be done, but most people are just so ill-informed. And if I can ever help, if you ever want any verification or elucidation or better explanation, I'm more than willing to come and talk about that. I just won't talk about the people. It's
right.
It's got to be the principles, not personalities. And let's see, what are people saying? People are saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I cannot.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for showing up and coming, and thank my kind audience who they put up with a lot for me. I know you have to drag your Kim, but there's something I do, and occasionally I'll drop something on my other keyboard, and my show will just stop, and then everybody knows. Okay, wait 3 minutes, she'll be back. It's so sad.
What did Nancy touch this time?
That's true. And love and light and being grounded for everyone. Oh, by the way, I did get a message that us moving out of that protective cloud in the galaxy is why so many things are mutating and changing rapidly. That's where it came from.
Okay, well,
it's
we're in this ride together.
We're all in it, and since it has to do with the galaxy, I don't know where we're gonna go. Escape it.
Right.
You can't go to New York and escape it. It's here.
No.
It's everywhere.
It's here.
Well,
That's right.
Oh, how is
Here.
England?
Good. I mean, well, I'm home now, but it was great. And it just seeing Cassie was, because we didn't see her for 18 months because of COVID and everything shut down. It was just such a relief, just to give her a big hug and know she was okay. And we survived, and we're gonna keep going. So just that alone was it was so worth.
Yeah, one of
just
my kids took off and
the
lived in
hassle.
Guam from his late teens to 30. So I've had
Oh,
it like 9 years, and you could talk to him, but I wasn't flying that far, and he wasn't flying back either.
right.
So, but it's okay. I mean, you can stay connected, and
You can.
it's like
You really
when you
can.
run into them, it's like they never left.
Yep.
And I
Yep,
love
that's
England.
right.
My second husband was English, and we toured all over England. We have family all over the damn country, even into
Oh, nice.
Scotland.
Really? I'd love to go to Scotland. Every year we're like, let's go here and let's go there. We finally made it to Liverpool, so we finally went
Oh,
somewhere.
cool.
So now we're gonna kind of venture out of the country and
Have you ever been to Wales?
No, I was just gonna say Wales and Scotland. Those are our next.
Go to
our next
Shrewsbury.
stops. Ireland.
The Brother Cadfael Mysteries in Shrewsbury. That monastery is still there. They
Oh,
give you
really?
tours. It's fascinating.
Oh,
And
how amazing!
I felt so. Of course, I lived in that era in a past life, and I knew about that, but I felt so comfortable and at home in that part of Wales. And I've never been to Ireland, and I have blood relatives right now in Ireland. I could have an Irish passport. My grandmother was from Ireland, and I think my mom used to say, if we dropped you into Ireland and you didn't open your mouth, no one would know you were not Irish. I mean, you look so Irish. And but I love England. It's a great place to tour, and everybody sort of speaks our language. And trust me, it's a big sort of, but we get along.
Exactly. There are definite differences, but it's an amazing place, and for Americans especially, because we just don't have stuff here that's that old. I mean, you go into a pub that's from the 1700s. It's
1400s.
Mind blowing. 1400s exactly.
I used to
mind blowing.
I used to docent at a place that's called Heritage Park here in Dallas now, but it was at the time Old City Park, and they brought structures from all around, like old stores that somehow survived as someone's garage, and then like an old general store, and they brought them all back in, and they've refurbished them to what they would look like at the time. And my husband, Bill, who's English, he laughed. He said, there's not a building on that property the building he was born in London was older than any building that was the entire heritage of Dallas.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, well, we could just gossip here forever, and I'm sure it will bore people terribly. And I want to thank all the readers that showed up. I want a big, big applause, everyone. Yay to Sharon Sipe, our dragon slayer. And love and light to everyone. And pray for all kinds of healing. I can tell you, I've lived in Texas since 1967. There's a lot of things Texans thinks they can do that they absolutely no idea what they're doing. So, don't worry for us. Worry for yourselves. Worry for yourselves, and worry for the other people who are from your state who support this crazy.
Right. And there are so many amazing people from Texas. I have I don't have any fear for Texas. I just, we're all kind of experiencing these kind of weird.
Well, you've got the recall.
And weird things.
You've got the recall going.
Yeah.
I know. I think I have to roll my eyes so high they're going to go into my third eye. Anyway, thank you very much for being here, and